Our GTA 5 story begins 9 years in the past. Our protagonists find themselves at the scene of a bank robbery. In order to ensure our safety, we have to first do what is necessary to establish our dominance in the situation. We do this by, of course, accosting some women, abusing the elderly, and after our alpha status is firmly established, it's time to blow the vault. We detonate the explosive from our state-of-the-art mobile device, collect the cash, and attempt to begin our escape. On our way out, we get rudely interrupted by a security guard, but I quickly handle business, rescuing my partner who was being held hostage, and showing off my incredible headshot skills in the process. With all threats neutralized, we head for the exit. The police show up, providing me yet another opportunity to display my prowess with a rifle. I promptly dispose of the law enforcement threat, jump in the getaway vehicle, and start burning rubber. A couple of officers remain dedicated to the pursuit. They give chase, put a bullet in the head of our driver, and leave us no choice but to swiftly direct their vehicle into a tree. With the road blocked by some more pesky boys in blue, we cut down a side road, get clipped by a train, and are forced to exit our busted vehicle. In another unfortunate turn of events, the feds get the drop on our trio of bank robbers. Brad and Mikey are easy targets in the wide open road and each take a bullet to the chest. Our boy T takes cover behind a dumpster and starts unloading rounds to exact some revenge on the fuzz. He soon realizes, however, he has no choice but to leave his injured compadres behind or risk joining them and becoming rifle fodder. He tries to take a hostage, but that plan quickly unfurls. Fortunately, the hostage frantically runs toward the cops, flailing her arms along the way and giving T some much-needed cover. T runs off into a nearby blizzard-obscured field and seemingly gets away. The scene transitions to what appears to be a funeral for Mikey. The Fed that shot him paces the ground while a man who looks just like Mikey hides behind the cover of a tree enjoying a cigarette. Us high IQ astute gamers are left wondering if Mikey has just faked his own death. The scene changes with what appears to be Mikey in the middle of an intense therapy session. Expletives fly as he shares his frustrations with his son's extracurricular activities. He leaves therapy, takes a relaxing stroll along the boardwalk, and has a seat on a nearby bench. A couple of strangers walking by approach and ask for the location of a beach house that happens to be just across the boardwalk. We then follow the two strangers as they approach the house and discuss business. We boost a couple of cars. I take the red one because I'm secure in my masculinity, put the top down, and follow our partner to our destination. We stop on the way to have a profound discussion.
What you going slow up the road for, dog? Move over so the traffic can flow through.
Whatever, nigga. I'll let something flow through your ass.
Dog, I ain't too sure that joke works, dog.
But our conversation is quickly cut short as the cops converge on our location. We tear through the streets, do some minor damage to our stolen ride, and duck out in an alley until the law enforcement threat is gone. With the police off our tail, we finally make our way to the car dealership. Inside the car dealership, we find Simeon, the owner of the dealership, and he's engaged with a customer who he rips off by convincing him to pay far more for the car than it's worth. Lamar and Franklin jump in the whip, and Lamar explains the high standards he has for the ladies that he gets in relationships with.
Oh, mad for the penis. That's exactly how I like my women.
Oh, mad for the penis. That's exactly how I like my women.
After going a short distance further, the duo arrives at Franklin's house. Lamar takes off and Franklin heads inside. We upgrade the drip and take a quick nap. Feeling well rested, we head outside for some fresh air. Simeon hits us up on the cell and says he's got some more work for us. Before we can get back to work though, boosting cars and all that professional work that we're doing, we have to make sure that we look the part. So we hit up the local barber to get the fade fixed and grow out some facial hair. With our look on point, we head to the dealership to get our next job. Lamar shows up, and he is none too pleased with the fact that Franklin was just named Employee of the Month. Simeon gives us our next repossession job. We're tasked with retrieving a motorcycle from a customer who's behind on his payments. We hit the road and make our way to where Simeon told us the bike would be found. We traverse a locked gate and search a few storage units before getting jumped by some Hispanic gang members. Lamar, being the real G that he is, doesn't hesitate with the steel and puts one of the miscreants down on the pavement. The other gang members take off. We equip our pistol and start putting in work. We shoot our way through a horde of gang members in the alley and blow up a car in the process. The motorcycle and its rider fly by. Franklin and Lamar jump in the car and go in hot pursuit. The bike is fast, but we eventually catch up, knock the driver over, and confiscate the motorcycle. We meet Lamar at the car wash, and he decides to screw Simeon over by taking the motorcycle for himself. Franklin expresses his displeasure with Lamar's decision, and the two part ways. With Lamar gone, Franklin needs to be alone with his thoughts to try to process the events that just unfolded. We try to take a leisurely stroll through the hood, but our time of solitude is quickly interrupted by a mutual acquaintance named Tanya. Tanya feeds Franklin a sob story about how she needs his help with a job or one of Franklin's friends is going to lose everything he has. Being the good Samaritan that Franklin is, he decides to help. Tanya informs Franklin that his friend needs his help towing a car. We drive Tanya to the tow truck's location and start driving the hefty beast. Tanya tries to distract Franklin, but he keeps his eye on the prize.
Move that seat back, and you know I'll make it right for you.
We find the busted up hoopty, get it hooked, and tow it back to the drop-off point. We try to head back home to rest up, but then Lamar shows up with his dog Chop and tells us he's got a kidnapping job for us. He says we need to kidnap someone from a rival gang to send a message. We load up in Lamar's van, head to the last known location of our mark. We find our man trying to run game on a young lady who doesn't seem to appreciate his perfectly wholesome propositions.
Well, shit, how about I put one of these little X pills up your ass crack? Next thing you know, you're gonna be begging for it, boo-boo.
That's disgusting.
Lamar pulls a strap on our man, and he speeds away on his sports bike. We do what we can to keep up in Lamar's van. Just as it appears we're not going to be able to catch up to our target, he gets T-boned off his bike by a bus. Miraculously, he's able to quickly come to and starts running. Lamar sicks Chop on him, and he and Franklin follow behind. Chop chases our man into a rail yard and starts sniffing out cars to find where he might be hiding. All of a sudden, Chop gets distracted, and he runs off. We turn the corner to find Chop engaged in some sexy time. Franklin tells Chop that this is not the time nor the place. Chop wraps things up and gets back to tracking the scent of our man in hiding. We find our man and Chop chases him down, handles business with him, and we put him in the van and take off. While on the way to the drop-off location, our victim recognizes Lamar. Franklin freaks out that the cops will be able to trace Lamar's location, so he tosses his phone out the window, kicks Lamar and Chop out of the van, and tells the guy we worked so hard to apprehend to get lost. We take Lamar's van and go see Simeon back at the dealership. Simeon tells us he has another repo job for us. On the way to the spot, Simeon calls us and is pretty pissed to have learned that Lamar stole the bike we were supposed to repo for him from the Mexicans. He tells Franklin to finish the job and they'll talk more when he returns. We arrive at the home, but the car we need to boost is locked in the garage. We knock out the landscaper and sneak in through the window. We show off our stealth skills by getting through the house unnoticed and get out with the car. Unbeknownst to Franklin, however, we're not alone. Mikey, the bank robber who faked his own death at the beginning of the story, turns out to also be the father of the boy who purchased the car from Simeon. Remember this guy from earlier?
Understand, money is an issue, eh?
Money isn't an issue. This is the best part. Watch this when he reeling me.
Mike is on to the predatory scheme Simeon is running with his car loans and orders Franklin to take him to see Simeon. Wanting to make a grand entrance, he tells Franklin to crash through the front of the dealership. With a gun to his head, Franklin is in no place to negotiate, so he does as he's told. With the car crashing through the front window, Simeon freaks out. Michael then pays Franklin for his help and then peacefully convinces Simeon to take back the car. Michael leaves the dealership and drives around town for a bit. We witness an innocent lady getting robbed, and then we decide to take out the perp and get her stuff back for her. We ram him with our car, but that wasn't enough to convince him to repent. We chase him a little further, put a bullet in his back to leave nothing to chance, take the stolen wares, and return them to their rightful owner. We drive a few blocks down the strip and find a dude just sitting by himself protesting the legalization of marijuana. He convinces Michael to take a couple puffs of the devil's lettuce, and Michael swiftly enters an altered state of consciousness. He starts getting attacked by aliens and mows them down with a minigun. Michael's high wears off and he swears off the ganja for good. Meanwhile, Franklin's taking a stroll across town and gets invited to participate in a street race. We pick up what appears to be the slowest car in existence and head to the starting line. I try to take a shortcut to make up for the handicap and horsepower and get disqualified. Then I return with a better vehicle, though, and handle business. We collect our $200 winnings and head out. With our pockets now a little fatter and our self-esteem on high from winning our first street race, I figure buying a new firearm would be the only thing that would make the night even better. We get to the gun store, but before we can even park the car, Simeon rings us on the celly. He tells Franklin his business is tanking, blames Franklin for the whole thing, and tells Franklin that he's no longer employed. But before we can even process the implications of what just took place, a bystander starts challenging our masculinity.
Fuck you! What? I don't know. You got a face that I need to say fuck you to. I'm gonna fuck you up, and then I'm
Oh, you got hands, huh, dog?
So, like a true alpha, we get out of the car and swiftly commence administering a well-deserved beatdown. With our street cred fully intact, we leave our man unconscious on the sidewalk for all to see and head into the gun store. We peruse the inventory and see that the SMG is on sale for the low price of free. We do the only logical thing in this situation and promptly take this ammo-spitting beauty off the shelf. Since we don't have to pay for the SMG, we use some of the money we saved to pick up some new shades on the way out. With our firepower upgraded and sunglasses looking hard, it's time to find some more work. With Simeon no longer being our employer, we head to the only other person who's shown a willingness to pay for our expansive in-demand skill set. We arrive at Michael's house and find him lounging by the pool. We ask Michael if there's anything we can do for him. He tells us he's retired and advises us to leave the streets and to get a degree. We decide to head to the bar for a drink to continue our conversation. But before we can leave the house, Jimmy calls and he informs his dad that his yacht has just been stolen. We jump in the car and hightail it out of there. We soon find Michael's yacht being hauled down the highway with his son Jimmy still on it. We hatch a plan. Michael will drive close enough for Franklin to jump from the car onto the yacht. The situation is tenuous, but Franklin is a G and jumps to the yacht without breaking a sweat. We remove the threats on the yacht, which allows Jimmy to drop from the mast onto Michael's car. With Jimmy's safety secured, Franklin leaps back onto the car as Michael's yacht gets away. Jimmy might still be in one piece, but Michael's car took a freaking beating and is in need of repair. Michael takes a cab home and tasks Franklin and Jimmy with taking the car to the shop to get it fixed up. We get the car all fixed up and start the drive back to Michael's house. We drop the car off and Jimmy tries to start a bromance with Franklin, and Franklin says he's got things to do, but maybe they can hang out some other time. Exhausted from all the excitement of the day, we head home. We change into a fresh set of threads and get ready to chill. Our plans to relax, however, are quickly interrupted as Lamar shows up with an old friend who just got out of prison. Lamar tells us he's got some business for us, and with no other prospects for work lined up, we begrudgingly oblige. Lamar doesn't give us many details about what kind of job he has in store for us. We need to make sure we're ready for anything though, so I stop off at the gun shop and pick up a shotgun with a flashlight attachment. On the way to the spot, Lamar tells us that we'll be engaged in a drug deal. We arrive at our destination and find that Lamar and the dude we kidnapped earlier are now chumming it up. The deal quickly goes awry. The man we kidnapped earlier intended to get his revenge on us and brought us here as a setup for our own murder. Our man, who just got out of jail, puts one in the head of the guy who set us up. After that, there was only one thing left for us to do: blast our way out with our brand new shotgun. We start working our way out of the facility, bodying everybody that gets in our way. With all the gangbangers extinguished, it appears we're clear to make our exit, but we leave the building only to find that we now have the police after us. With a helicopter threatening our escape, we pop the pilots to take it down. We scramble away as fast as we can, but more police quickly converge on our location. We hijack a car and start tearing down the street. Lamar rips a fat fart and tries to hotbox us. The smell is too much for Franklin and he dies out of the vehicle ASAP. We search around for a new getaway vehicle and finally find one that's acceptable. We jump in and get back to evading the long arm of the law. We speed through the streets and find a parking garage to duck into and hide. We lay low for a couple of minutes and the police finally give up their pursuit. We head back home, say goodbye to our boys, and call it a day. Get subscribed up and stay tuned for the next episode to find out what crazy shenanigans Michael and Franklin get into next.